Welcome back to the Workup. I'm Marche Warfield, and today we continue our Get Social series. Last time we began the social conversation with Facebook and LinkedIn, and today we will be going over how to control the conversation on Twitter and Instagram. To do that, I've invited Candace Hudson to join the Workup again. Candace, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
So let's get things started. Twitter and Instagram are extremely different platforms than Facebook and LinkedIn in many ways, including demographics, how to advertise, and all-around functionality. So let's talk about what they can do for your business. We'll start with Twitter. Candace, what are your overall thoughts about Twitter?
So in the last episode, I know we talked a lot of strategy and a lot of the ins and outs of the platform, and we're still going to get into that today, but what I really want to reiterate is that the most important factor about utilizing social media is taking control of the narrative of your brand. When you control the conversation, you have the power to dampen negative press, the ability to generate goodwill, and ultimately the potential to make your brand a household name for a lifetime. So with all that said, let's dive into it. Twitter is resilient, and it's never really dead when you think it is. They started as a platform where celebrities, namely Ashton Kutcher, could post his stream of consciousness without, repercussion. You could connect with other celebrities and brands, and they could just kind of be average Joes. They succeeded in that manner for several years, but 2016 was kind of a dark period for the platform as a whole. Vine was thriving, rest in peace. Periscope was hot and on the rise, and 140 characters just seemed kind of limiting at that time. So Twitter tried to redefine their narrative by broadcasting political debates, NFL games, and other live streams until ultimately the new political climate kind of saved them from the brink of death. Twitter has really strayed true to their original motivation because the Periscope merger honestly didn't do them any favors. So they didn't really know how to utilize that platform and still haven't truly adapted to today's developments.
Okay, so let's talk Twitter demographics. As we mentioned, this platform is younger, but not to be overlooked. While most users range in age from 18 to 29 at 40%, they are college educated or have some college experience. The next group, ages 30 to 49, account for another 27%. And here's a staggering number. 42% of Twitter users are active at least once a day. Candace, your thoughts about Twitter demographics?
I'm one of those who's active at least once a day. But the demographics of Twitter have really changed drastically, especially because it's one of the primary hubs on internet for both original content creation and widespread reshares. Twitter is really great because this is a place where your brand can have a personality, a real voice. Because of the platforms that we're discussing, they're generally B2C tools. That's where they're most impactful. It's integral to speak to your audience rather than at them. And what I mean by that is to speak in clear, concise messages. Even though Twitter has increased the number of characters they allow, it's still not as many as a normal Facebook diatribe would be. So you really need to nail your point home in as few words as possible. If you can be clever about it and add some wit, the better. But clarity is always the goal, and making them laugh is secondary. And that's just a good tip in general for copywriting. A really great example of this execution is Wendy's Twitter account. They value conversational exchanges above a call to action like click to read more or buy now. By creating organic dialogue and real humanistic responses, even at the expense of being considered harsh, they have created a real personality behind the brand. You follow them for entertainment value and genuine responses, not to learn the prices of the new Frosty flavor or something like that. I want to know how the Wendy's rep will respond to a McDonald's beef or what's going to happen next, not what the sale of the day is.
Okay, so let's say I'm ready to make a Twitter business page. How hard is it to set up?
Setting up an account on Twitter is very simple. All you need is a hero image, a profile picture, and a brief 140-character description. Just because the tweets got longer doesn't mean your bio did. But the parameters for setting up a profile on Twitter is pretty much identical to the process for Instagram. Once you've done those three things, then start following brands and individuals that make the most sense for you and go.
Okay, so we've got Twitter. Let's move on to Instagram. Considered an even younger demographic, but with an astounding reach. Your thoughts?
Instagram has probably had the most significant transition of all of the platforms because they started out as a picture-only social share app, and that is still the case, but mainly foodies would share pictures of their latest meal, and that was one of their drawbacks. But now it's become one of the most powerful product and shopping-driven selling tools to date.
Let's talk Instagram demographics. The largest group on Instagram, as we mentioned, younger, 18 to 29. Most of Instagram users are women. But while it is considered a young platform, 6 out of every 10 adults who are online have Instagram accounts.
Well, since Facebook purchased the app, they've made a lot of significant changes. So even though brother is in a little bit of trouble right now, sister is doing just fine. Instagram introduced video with no chaotic comment clutter. They optimize your news feed for relevant content, which has been under fire lately for not being in chronological order. But they still allow you to purchase and go through the sales funnel easily, which is a huge draw for the app, namely through their stories feature, which really rivals Snapchat. I have to say, Instagram really held its own against Snapchat when they released the stories feature, and Snapchat was really its biggest competitor. But Snapchat's most recent updates really kind of put them in the last category. So but that's a whole different can of worms we can get into later.
Okay, and what about setup for Instagram? You said as easy as Twitter?
Like I mentioned before, you only need a hero image, a profile picture, a brief bio, and then start following.
Okay, so let's circle back to see how to use these platforms for business, specifically for advertising.
Businesses should supplement their other digital marketing efforts with these 2 platforms. If you're running an email marketing campaign, link to your social channels in the email. Push subscribing the email list on Twitter. Post a teaser image for the email on your Instagram. There are numerous ways you can symbiotically push your brand on every single channel. If it applies to your budget, which it should, advertising on both Twitter and Instagram can be highly effective given the strategy behind your advertisements. You can link them to multiple platforms, you can control the quality of the images, and you can target certain demographics. Through the targeting features, or though the targeting features aren't as sophisticated as maybe LinkedIn or Facebook, you can still optimize for certain demographics in a real way. But, of course, the platforms we've discussed in this episode and part 1 are just a few of the social engagement tools out there. You still have Snapchat, which we mentioned a little before. You have Yelp, Tumblr, Reddit, Google+, Vero, and the list just goes on. I would suggest consulting a professional about which platforms are really best for you and your company and how you can make the biggest splash on the digital networks.
So that is all the time we have. I'd like to thank Candace and you for joining us today. Join us next time on The Workup when our topic will be feedback and analytics, adapt, adjust, improvise.